LinkedIn is pretty great at a lot of things, like helping you tap into the latest trends and insights in your field. We cannot stop your coworker from tapping her pencil. LinkedIn can help you find new jobs that align with your career goals. We cannot help you find the source of that weird smell in the office fridge. Ew. And while we can't stop your coworkers from bringing their hobbies into the office, LinkedIn can help you bring your career to the next level. LinkedIn is the network that works for you.
Back with the Blue Turf, we are at
the world-famous Kansas City Soccer Dome.
Where's the sign? Are they going to put the sign
No, they
up?
I think it's coming. So I want to take personal credit for this if this actually comes to pass, because how many times can you voice this into existence? I feel like I did a great service for the Kansas City soccer community.
Well, I wonder how big it'll be, because I wonder how expensive those are.
I have no idea.
How much money will that cost?
I don't know.
All right, I shouldn't ask those questions. All right, it's been a little while since we talked, and life gets in the way.
Oh, do we need to introduce ourselves?
Well, I think everybody knows Eric. I mean, he's...
Now, hey, Eric Bergard from the Comets Broadcast and other things, with the illustrious Thad Bell.
I saw your crayon drawing, or what marker drawing.
Did I bring it today? No, I don't know if I brought it today. Yeah, it's
this is an audio medium.
Yeah, I can just refer to it. This is my. If you can't see it, well, you can't see it. But if you didn't see the game on against Empire on CBS Sports Golazo, this is my attempt to show Philip Ejimadu and the Blue Turf, and then 3 fans, 2 of whom are praising Nick and Lux and 1 mocking me. So it's just like business as usual.
Well, everybody loves Nick, that's for sure. I think everybody kind of likes you.
Oh, I have haters in Kansas City.
I'm averaging.
Yeah,
I'm averaging.
It's all right. It's all right. I mean, there's people who can take me or leave me. It's fine. I mean, that's the thing about being a color analyst in any sport. You have a job to do, and if you express your opinion, some people won't share your opinion. So there you go.
Well, I like you.
Well, I appreciate that. So what's up, Thad?
I think I should have done a drawing, a coloring contest thing here. But
You should have. And what's funny is we showed our work, so Nick Lux and I, on air, and like I didn't even bother doing the whole fan section of this, and Nick did maybe even less coloring than I did.
Yeah.
But then again, we did not submit them. You know what's funny, and I didn't say this on air, so if you look at the at least on the goalkeeping one, there's 3 signs. So I wonder how many Milwaukee fans actually drew them in, submitted them, and they just got kicked out. You've got to think that multiple people spent too much time doing that just to make a statement. And
just to hate on Neto.
Well, hate on Neto, but also just hate on KC. So there you go.
I bet you Huffman submitted one. I don't know.
Might have.
All right. Let's get back to the games.
Okay.
I didn't really mean to go down this sidetrack, but it's not like we never sidetrack ourselves. Anyway, this is Thad Bell from the KC Soccer Journal, and Eric Bergard, amazing color analyst on the other side. It's been a while since we talked. 2 games, both Empire, 1 on the road, 1 at home. At Empire, they kind of sucked for at least a half, and then a little better in the second half.
Well, Empire didn't suck. I guess I could say that. So pretty quiet first quarter. Turns into a 6-0 game, and then you're wondering what the heck is going on. And KC finally got some goals together in the second half, but there was no way they were going to catch up. I think what was interesting is the roster Empire used at home was different than the one they brought to Kansas City, and it would have been interesting if some of the same players were made available, but it didn't happen. And that's not the reason why Empire lost, but I think you saw a better example of what Empire could do that first game.
And they play a different style than pretty much anybody else in the league.
You're seeing Milwaukee adapt a little bit about this. They absolutely will change goalkeepers because Perez is really good with his ball on the feet. He scored a couple goals, so it's not quite a bossy ball. But we'll see because the Comets have to play in Milwaukee next week, whether we see Perez a little bit more pushing the game up, like we see particularly with Orozco when he's in goal for Empire.
Yeah, I mean, even the Comets will change goalies to have one better with the foot, one better with the throw.
They've done that. They did this recently too. Yeah,
exactly. So I don't know if there's much to say from that first game at Empire. The team was really bad in the second quarter. They were better in the second half, but it was already a big lead to try to claw back and against a team that you don't do well against anyway. So.
Well, you'd asked me for my prediction, and I thought that maybe there'd be a letdown from Empire after beating San Diego. There was no letdown, and they looked really good, I thought, against Kansas City.
Yep. Coming back to Kansas City, Empire still looked pretty good for a good chunk of that game. They controlled a lot of the possession, which possession does not translate to wins. Ask another soccer team in this town about that in the past. But the Comets were more effective at their shots. They were Empire outshot them. I forget the exact number, but they outshot them. But the Comets were more effective and they were better on the counter.
Well, for me, the turning point was right before halftime. At halftime, Kansas City threw the challenge flag. Empire had already thrown their challenge flag and lost. And upon video review, they couldn't find an angle to overturn a potential handball leading to a goal, and the goal stood. And Coach Stokic talked with Lux at halftime and said, we can't let the referees distract us. We need to focus on their game. And what you saw in the second half was Kansas City more focused on the game, and Empire, in my opinion, more focused on the referees.
Yeah, no, I have to admit, this was a game I was not at personally. My wife had a milestone birthday, and she's like, well, you can go to the Comets if you want. And I was very close to doing it. I was trying to get her to go to dinner really early, but that didn't work. So anyway, I had to take wife out to dinner, milestone birthday. So I was not there. So I watched it after the fact, and I'm looking at the replay, and I'm like, I thought it was fairly obvious, but is it enough to say it's clear and obvious? But before we get to all of that, the second half, the Comets were better. Outscored Empire. There were still some questionable calls in the second half, and they went both ways in this regard. I think in the first half it was just the one against the Comets that was the most egregious.
Second half, I mean, and what's funny is both teams arguing who got more calls that might have disadvantaged them. To me, I think Kansas City got more that disadvantaged them and overcame, and that's fine. I mean, in the end, it doesn't matter.
But it was like 2-1 for the most part.
You play to the whistle. You play what's happening on the field, and I mean, I think we can talk about the video review rule and what might have limited the referee's discretion in terms of looking at plays that led to goals scored on both sides. But I mean, for me, I thought Kansas City had more composure there, and I can't say enough about Rion Marquez because it's funny, at the beginning of the season, and Kenny Mayer always comes up to me and says, okay, Phillip is going to be goal of the year. That's right. He's always going to say that, but he said, watch out for Rion Marquez for MVP. And you think, oh, that's kind of bold because you've got Zach Reggett here. But Rion's game, he's just been so dominant, not just scoring goals, but assisting. He holds the ball really well, and guys are finally making those runs off of him, and that's what you want a target to be able to do. Score when they need to score, lay off the ball when they need to lay off, and he's been terrific.
Well, I think there's been a couple of years while he's been here, he's been amazingly good until he was hurt.
Well, and he missed a couple. You might recall he missed a couple games. So he and Reggett are neck and neck in terms of league lead on points, but Reggett's played every game, and Rion's missed a few. The challenge is going to be there's this guy with the number 80 in Milwaukee, Alex Sanchez, who's been playing lights out. Yep. And so Kansas City's splitting points between their two targets, between Reggett and Marquez, and you see Sanchez trying to carry that team on his back, particularly with Ian Bennett out.
And that's one of those, I think it's a good debate on teams is, do you want to have one guy carrying the entire team, or do you want to have multiple guys who can carry the team and alternate?
Ask me that question in the playoffs, because I'd rather have multiple guys.
I would too, but sometimes it doesn't. It goes both ways at different times. It's just how that season works out, I think, a lot. But I would rather have multiple guys who can score, and you're not relying on one who could get hurt, could get a red card, whatever. So you never know. All right. Comets won that game, 6-3, I think was the final. Both teams have some reason to question why or they did get a goal or didn't get a goal and all that stuff. Do we want to get into that now?
Yeah, let's get into that now. Do we need to you let me know, do we need to take a break at all, or are we good?
Okay, take a break. All right, we're back.
Yeah, we're back. How about that?
That was a long break, man.
Man, whatever I can do to help produce your show, I'm here to help
I'm terrible
out.
at doing the breaks, man. So I have to like squeeze in the couple ads in between, like sometimes conversations when we just start or stop. So you are the broadcast expert. I am just the guy who talks a lot. All right. Is there 3 controversial calls, 4 controversial calls?
Well, I think let's just talk about the second half.
Okay.
So in the first half, both teams threw the challenge flag. Both were unsuccessful. So you come into the second half, no challenge flags left. And then what do you do?
Well, I just 10 seconds on the first, 30 seconds on the first half. I do think the one that Empire threw was not a good call. That was definitely a bad one. I think the ones that Comets threw, I think that was a handball. The question would always be, was there enough quality video to have overturned the missed call in the first place? Because I do think it was a missed call, but
I wasn't sure. It was right in front of us. But we have the dasher boards
Right.
and the glass in front of me. I didn't see a handball live, but then when you look at the video, it's a little more inconclusive.
yeah. So having watched it just through the computer, and I watched it again last night, kind of watching all that, and I'm like, okay, this one not so good, this one not so good. That one I thought was pretty clear, but that's okay. They missed that. They both lost their challenge flags. Now the second half.
Yeah, and so there were plays on both sides. There was, and I'm visualizing just where I was watching the game live at Cable Dahmer Arena. Rion Marquez, one-on-one with the goalkeeper. His arm comes out. If you're a Kansas City Comet player or fan, you'd say the goalkeeper flopped. If you're an Empire fan, it was egregious hit, right? But let me read to you from a memo that we received on New Year's Eve that referenced video review update. And I think this might be helpful for Comets fans and all our listeners.
Okay, if you're receiving that on New Year's Eve, somebody needed to get a life, but continue.
Well, this was in response. You might recall there were a couple games Kansas City played in with Milwaukee and St. Louis where people were leaving the bench. I'm going to read this to you. This is what was sent to everybody, right? It's called MASL Protocol and Rules Update. This is video review update. In the last 5 minutes of the fourth quarter and in overtime, the referee can initiate a VR only when a team has already used their allowable challenges for the game. The referee must have a strong sense that a clear and obvious error has been made and the incident has a potential major impact on the game. Exception, the referee may use referee-initiated VR outside of the fourth quarter 5-minute window in the scenario of a mass confrontation or to determine if players left their bench during a mass confrontation. Now, clearly, these happened before the last 5 minutes,
Right.
but in terms of their discretion, when I called the game and they chose not to view for whatever reason, whether it was their interpretation of this update or their interpretation of what they can and can't do, they chose not to look at the Marquez one. On the other side, you had a ball off the boards that, for me, clearly was reviewable for a handball that led to a dilatory goal.
Right.
And my response on there is, well, you didn't call the video review on the one side, you didn't call it on the other. Everybody's square. But what happens is these videos get shared online, particularly in Kansas City, because we have great video review, notwithstanding the call that you were referencing in the first half. We get great angles. And so it's really hard to explain why certain things get reviewed, why certain things get let go. And it's a challenge for the coaches. It's a challenge for the captains and the other players. It's obviously a challenge for us. And then the fans are left wondering what's going on. We can see things with our own eyes. So, but that being said, for me, one balanced out the other. Who cares? I thought what was interesting, and I've been assured that under review this week is going to have multiple calls from the Kansas City Empire game. Chad Vandergriff gets his shirt grabbed by the referee's crease,
Yeah.
and blue card is called. And for me, I see two defenders back, including Justin Stinson. So
Right.
I'm thinking there's no way this is going to be a shootout, but there's interpretation here because it was a clear goal scoring opportunity that was denied too. And so I think one of the challenges is, and this is not in defense of the referees, although I could make that case, it's just to explain it for the fans. These are complicated rules that could be simplified, but there's so much gray that leads to interpretation, and then that leads to frustration if they're interpreted different ways, either by two different refs in one game or similar situation one game in the next. And so can the league look to simplifying some of these rules? I guess we'll see. I mentioned under review another show, a brand new show, Soccer Signal. Yeah. I'm pretty sure they're going to look at the challenge flag issue. At least I've had a conversation with one of the co-hosts of the show. With what we know, when should coaches use the challenge flags? Because in this case, both coaches made a judgment call in the first half, and then their hands were tied in the second half. And if the referees feel their hands are tied too, then you witness what we witnessed then.
Yeah, and I understand that the rules are not always conducive to understanding them in the same way between differing refs. In the one particular case where you mentioned Vandergriff got his shirt pulled and they gave a shootout that Rian scored. Nice goal, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
I disagreed with that when I watched it, and I'm like, no, that shouldn't have been, for the same reason. There were players coming back defensively, and I know that there's a little bit of judgment call as would they have been there in time to affect the play. In my opinion, they would have. Again, fast-moving things, all that stuff goes on. I think that's why you throw the card, you like mentally think about it for a second before you give that shootout part to it. But I don't think that's so different than outdoor, where you have dog zone. You have the very similar rules, and all these refs ref outdoor as well. You know, they don't just ref indoors, or at least have refed outdoors at some point. So I do feel like that was one that they should not have done, and it would have went not in the Comets' favor. But I just feel like some of these were missed opportunities to have made the call in the first place.
Well, and I think that's what will be interesting to hear what Ryan Stokic has to say on under review, because what he'll do is say two things I hear him say, and I've heard Rich Grady say the same thing when he's filled in. We would have liked to have that been addressed on the field, or the referees need to be put themselves in a position to have a clearer sight lines to it. Those are the two things you want to listen for, because ultimately what's correctable on the field, which I think is what you're getting at,
right.
That. And then what I was getting at is what is correctable within the guidance and the rules that the leagues provide. And so what you want is alignment. You want a clear understanding from the rule book, and then the referees on the field putting themselves in position to see what we can see with video. And I think that's, what does it feel like in every sport? Football, basketball, both versions of soccer, it feels like there's more attention on the referees. Video technology has made this so much easier to get different angles that I think it exacerbates the errors on the field in a way that maybe wasn't so when you and I were growing up. And people would complain about bad calls, but then you move on, right? Now it's like Zapruder's film, where you have video evidence of something happened, and you're wondering, how I can see this, how come the referee can't? Well, you're watching on HD TV on a 55-inch screen. It makes it a lot easier to see.
And you're not running down the field trying to keep track of 22 players or 11 or 10 players at the same time, etc. It is an easy job. It is not an easy job. I totally agree. I have reffed very, very low level, and it's not always easy to be in the perfect spot and all that type of stuff. And I'm old and slow, so it was hard to me to be a linesman, even for a youth game. But at the same time, you do expect a certain amount of consistent. For me, I always will say I want consistency. If it's going to be X, it's going to be X the next time. and I know that it's different between different refs, and I also really want to say, don't go yelling at refs at youth soccer. We need more refs, and if you discourage the good kids because they get yelled at, they're not going to grow up to be good refs later. So just keep that in mind.
So three responses. One, the fact that you used the term linesman dates you, because when
Yeah, I
I
know.
when I refed, I was a linesman, not an AR too. So second is the yelling thing. It's not just in youth soccer. If every game is going to be a yell fest here in MASL, how does that psychologically change how the referees approach things? Can you have a conversation with a referee on the field, or is the yellow card going to be waiting for that dissent? So that's two. But three, you said you wanted consistency. That's why I had no problem with no video review in the second half.
Yeah.
It's like, great. We're not going to look at one. We didn't look at the other. It's a wash. And so that way one team can't say, oh, why didn't you look at my play when you looked at the other team's play? So I didn't have so much a problem
It's consistent with what you read in the rules.
Yeah.
I get that. Again, the calls could have been made in the first place.
Sure.
But, and again, I like consistency in if this guy gets bumped a little bit, it's a foul or not a foul, same playing the next game or the next play.
But the thing for me was Stokic's attitude going into the second half is we need to focus on the game. And I think that too many teams in this league have gotten where it's all about the referees. Why do you think that FIFA's been really focusing on the encroachment of the referee? And
they should.
I mean, play the game. It's like life, right? Sometimes you're going to get bad things that happen to you, and then how do you overcome adversity? But if you're focused on the call rather than, okay, what can I do? Can my teammates and I do in this moment now that that's happened to play our game and to get the result that we want? That's the mental part of this, that it seems certain teams have more mental toughness, if you want to call it that way. And I think that you cannot win the championship in this league without a certain degree of mental toughness.
No, you absolutely need to do that. And I appreciate that he was able to get the team to focus on the game and not the refs, especially when both teams are getting a little screwed.
That being said, the Comets did get a yellow card.
At the end of the first.
At the end of the first, overcame that. Probably should have gotten second, because there were a couple players who could have gotten yellow cards, and I think that one wasn't spotted, but they got through halftime and then was able to basically not allow a goal during the remainder of that 5-minute penalty in the second half, and then things turned right away. And so what you don't want to do is put yourself in a position where the team, particularly as many challenges that the Comets have had, people in and out on the defensive line, you don't need defenders in the penalty box for 5 minutes, right?
Definitely.
I mean, you don't want anybody in the penalty box for 5 minutes. Paulo got a yellow card for St. Louis in a recent game. You don't want your goalkeeper in the penalty box for 5 minutes. So how do you come into a game with that right mindset, knowing that things that you totally disagree with are going to happen on the field, and yet overcome that in a way? It's not excusing calls. It's just put yourself in a position where you're not harming your team's chances.
Yeah, and again, I get that. When I played, I always try to talk to the refs. I always try to say good game, and all right, like good call. Yes, I fouled them. You're right, and all that. So when I did say you're absolutely wrong, ref, I didn't get punished for it, and I rarely ever got in a ref's face. I mean, I can really only think of a couple times, and I had that rapport. I tried to keep that rapport. If you're always going at them, it's going to be much easier for them to, as a human, not judge you exactly the way you would like to be judged.
So a little bit of inside baseball. I guess it's inside soccer, right?
Yeah.
So I was talking to Coach Stokic right before we went on air, and we were talking about referees. I get a vote at the end of the year I have in the past for referee of the year, and then heading into the playoffs, they get to rank referees in terms of who do they want to see, who do they not want to see. And so we were talking about individual referees, and ultimately, what do you want? You want consistency, but you also, I think, want referees who are going to be level-headed, where if players come up in their face and yell at them, it's not going to have any impact on. It's not going to shake them and affect how they call the game. And so, I mean, I know what I look for when I'm looking at who's who's the best, but it's also interesting because Coach Stokic and the coaching staff heading into the playoffs, they need to start having that conversation in terms of what are we looking for, and how does that affect not only, I mean, obviously the league's going to select, but if that's part of the game prep is what to expect with certain referees, I mean, that's just another dimension the coaching staff has to have in mind.
Yeah, of course, I will also say that when I played, it was easier because I wasn't getting paid to play. So,
Right.
like, my career
Right.
wasn't on the line because of a certain call here or there.
But you know, I mean, you and I go back to the MISL era. You knew how Gino DiPolito was going to call a game, or Torres Cabrician, or whatever else. So that really hasn't changed. I just think the tenor has changed, and particularly with video technology. Boy, and you have shows like Under Review that
we'll break
put
that down.
referees on a spotlight now, and so how do you we talked about player mental toughness, talk about referee mental toughness. How do you go into a game and focus on here and now rather than like, okay, if I do this, somebody's going to complain to me or what, right?
No, I appreciate those shows, the Under Review and the ones that Pro Referee does for MLS and NWSL games. I don't always agree with those calls. I don't always agree with Ryan and how he assesses something should have happened, but that's okay. At least I can kind of understand his viewpoint. All right, I know we only got like a minute or two before we have to get out of here. Milwaukee coming up, day game, a little bit of weirdness. Just any comments on that?
Yeah, it'll be a loud crowd there up at Panther Arena. So it's something the Attack used to do back in the day, those daytime games where a lot of school kids get to take a break, I guess, from the classroom and go to the soccer game. Milwaukee, they've been consistently good about come from behind victories. They were down against UCFC, came from behind there, and UCFC couldn't catch up to them. So they're going to be well rested. Kansas City's going to be well rested. What's been interesting is 3 games so far this season. The road team has won all 3 of them. So you would think that benefits itself for Kansas City, but I would challenge people to look at the MASL standings. Who's number 1 and who's number 2?
Yep.
This is potentially a 6-point flip. And so if you're Kansas City, Milwaukee has games in hand on you. There's urgency there for Kansas City to get a great result. For Milwaukee's sake, or from their perspective, if they could win, not only do they do that 6-point flip, but then they start seeing potential daylight as they play out more games,
Right.
where they're maybe feeling a little bit more comfortable as the 1 seed.
Yeah, those next 2 teams are really close to the Comets. So, honestly, just getting a point or 2 on the road is a good result for them to help keep Milwaukee a little bit at bay. Any last words?
We're at this point of the season where I think you're starting to see, we see this every year, Thad, where you start to see that teams at the top starting to create some distance from themselves. Huge game. We're recording this on Thursday. UCFC at Empire tonight. If UCFC doesn't get any results on the West Coast, they have serious problems in terms of being able to catch up. If you're Empire, you're on the edge. They did not have a good weekend traveling to the Midwest and the East. 0 points in Kansas City, 0 points in Baltimore. And you better start getting some points now, or you're going to be joining UCFC looking up.
Yeah, I did a quick look last night at the standings and compared them to the previous year standings of which teams I thought would end up with more points, and it's an interesting look, but we don't have time to go into it.
Yeah, I just say one thing, you get past Milwaukee, San Diego Soccer's on Valentine's Day. I couldn't have scripted that better myself. That's almost as good as Empire Strikers on Star Wars night, but these teams are going to play each other 5 times, and they're going to start disliking each other very much so as we head into March.
I think the Comets ticketing people likes the game being on Valentine's Day. Like, is it a date night thing?
Maybe. We'll see.
I'll have to see.
Hey, Super Bowl's on Valentine's Day next year, so, share your love of sports with somebody you love.
Have some wings. All right, thank you, Eric. I'm here with Coach Stokic. How are you today, sir?
I'm good. How are you?
Not too bad. I haven't been able to talk to you for a little while now, but 2 games, good result at home against Empire, not so good result at Empire. What can you tell me about the difference between those 2 games?
I think the first game that we played against them, it just felt like, that second quarter kind of, again, figuring out what happened. A lot of things happened. I felt like, in that first quarter, we didn't put our chances away. It could have been a different game. And then in the second quarter, we just fell apart for whatever reason it happened. I think in the third quarter, fourth quarter, the boys try to come in and fight for it, fight for the win. But again, when you have a quarter like that, was it 6 goals that we conceded in that second quarter? It's hard to come back from that, no matter who you play. So I felt, in that third and fourth quarter, we did much better, but not enough to get back in the game. The second game, I think again we had a first quarter which we did okay. I don't think it was good enough, but then in the third and fourth quarter, we made some changes, did some stuff, and then we got the outcome that we wanted, and the boys played well.
It seemed like in that second game, Empire maybe had more opportunities, but you guys did better with your opportunities. Is that a fair statement?
Well, I think, yeah, when you look at both games, it's the same thing, right? We had opportunities in the first game we didn't put away, and they did. In this game as well, too. But I felt like in this game, we controlled more of the narrative. Because playing against, it's a different tactic when you play against Empire, right? Because of the way they play.
Yeah.
And it's hard to adjust because you play a certain different way when you play other teams, and then you play a different way when you play against them. So it's an adjustment. But I felt like in that second game, we adjusted much better, and I think we found the solution within that game. So because in that first half, what we were doing wasn't working as I thought it was going to work. So we made some changes in the second half, and it worked, and we made it work. So
it was Mikey got a couple of goals. It was good to see him kind of have a really good game.
Yeah, I mean, I think in the past few games, he's done well. He's done his part. He's scored a couple goals, but it's a lot what he does off the ball as well too. But I think he's growing into his role and doing really good. I'm proud of him.
And you changed goalies in the fourth quarter. Can you talk about the logic behind that? Or, I mean, was Philip hurt? Or?
No, I think, we have Neto on the bench for, I think, the 4 games that we had. And, I felt, again, Neto has a big leadership, big voice in the team. And at that moment, I felt like I wanted to have a change. And, he hasn't played much in those 4 games, so I wanted to give him some playing time. So,
cool. What else maybe stood out from these last couple of weeks, and how do you get ready for the next game?
I mean, I think everything is, the next 2, what do we have, 3 games in, we have 3 games in February, right? And out of those 3 games, we have Milwaukee and San Diego. So, we're able to, right now, with winning those 2 games, kind of separate ourselves a little bit because it's very tight now up top when you look at the numbers and the points. But it'll be a good test to see where we're at and how ready we are for playoffs, because the main thing is being ready for playoffs, right? Our first goal is to win the league, right? That's our number 1 goal. But I think as well, too, as our focus is making sure that we're healthy and prepared for playoffs. So I think at this point is a good test for us. Milwaukee's playing well. San Diego is playing well, regardless of their injuries and what they have going on in themselves. So it's going to be a good challenge. And then we have Utica as well, which I think, again, they're doing good with the players that they have, and Everton's doing a great job. We just have to make sure that we prepare mentally what we can do, what we control, and how we play. And if we focus on that, we should be fine.
Yeah. You mentioned there's a lot of teams kind of close together at the top. I know you'd always rather be a runaway winner, but are you feeling good with how the team is at this point?
I always feel like we can always do better. I don't think I would say happy. I think we're in a good spot. I still don't think we're there yet. I don't think we're right where we need to be. There's still a lot of work that needs to be done in preparation. So like for me is no matter how good we're playing or no matter what we're doing, you can always do better. You can do better if that is on set pieces, if that's on power play offense, power play defense, 6 attackers, or within what we do, the system that we play at, right? There's always adjustments that you can do and make it better. So for me is, yes, we're doing okay, but we can always do better. And we need to do even much better in preparations for playoffs.
This next game in Milwaukee will be a little bit weird. It's a middle of the day game. Like, is that different for you guys at all?
It is. It's actually exciting. It's a little bit something different, right? I think the boys are looking excited for it. They're excited for the game. It's a little bit different. I'm excited as well. So I think, objectively for me, it's a little change, but it's kind of a fun change, trying out, see how it goes. Having a game was at 10:30, I think, in the morning.
Yeah, it's almost like practice time.
It's like practice time. So I think that in that aspect it would be good because we practice at that time. So, but I think it would be a fun game to play, something different.
Yeah, too bad it won't be like practice. You can just stop it and have them reset everything,
Yes,
right?
yes, yes.
All right, I do have to ask one controversial question here. Reffing in this last game, was there any talk about that, like how things went or anything?
No comment.
I kind of expected that, quite honestly, Coach.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time, sir.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
And we are out.
Attention passengers, we've now reached our destination. We hope you enjoyed the flight and have a nice day.